good. I'm in 5 o'clock traffic on I-75 as I get set for my first ever podcast that'll be appearing to you on XTV East Coast via YouTube. I'm Ernest Justin Take a Leg, if I haven't said that to you already. And I look forward to having a whole bunch of fun, you know. It's very random. We out here on this road for pretty much most of the day, and you get to have a little bit of peek of what goes down out here. You know, as I said, I'm driving in 5 o'clock traffic. It's real slow here on 75. I believe in Sarasota, right here, the 214 mile mark, and a slew of cars are approaching the ramp right now as I drive about 25, 30 miles. It'll pick up in time. But I just want to tell you guys a little bit about what you can expect from this show. Maybe it'll be other hosts doing podcasts, people like maybe a good friend of mine, JJ Strong, who I hope to get as one of my guests. Maybe Bob Classic, if he ever get out of the damn cage. But with this show, I mean, and look at this guy. He just cut me the fuck off. I just blew a horn at his ass. You little fuck. You might hear a whole lot of that, ladies and gentlemen, because I am in traffic. But I mean, how hard is it to talk to you guys and drive? You know, plus I needed to do something to kill this last hour. But as I was saying before, I was so brutally cut off by this Volkswagen. This show right here, or my show, is going to be clean cut. This ain't going to be nothing made up. It's going to be the real stuff for you to get an understanding of the East Coast perspective. And I'll be interviewing a whole lot of East Coast, a whole lot of your favorite stars, you know, the Romies of the world, Bob Classic, Big Ten Money, you know, Yaki Najiyu, Tavari, Yosi, you know, some of the greats, all of the greats eventually, depending on, of course, how well this show does, how well received it is. That's only if you guys want to hear more. And I'm very excited about my first guest, who's, in my opinion, very fitted. And here it is, traffic that picked up again. Now look at this. This guy that just jumped in front of me, now he bobbing and weaving through traffic. But my very first guest is very fitting. He's the originator of the whole thing, ladies and gentlemen. He's a guy who, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be sitting here. And XTV, factually, would not exist. I'm talking about none other than AVW, ladies and gentlemen. He's my very first guest. I feel like he's the appropriate person for me to interview to get this whole podcast thing started. And I'll be talking to him in just a few moments. You know, I don't know why. It ain't like I'm be talking to him on the phone or nothing. You know, he might as well just say something, because we're here in the truck together. But be that as it may, a whole lot of things going on in the world of XTV, and we'll definitely be getting into that. If you hear any beeping going on, that's just me going over the speed limit. There's a fucking truck behind me. Oh boy, he ain't causing no problem. That's that damn thing in the back of this damn box truck, clanging and clanging. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, AVW, you know, Anthony, that's what we're gonna call him here. That's his real name. That's a shoot. I'll be talking with him. And AVW, you've been going strong since 1985. Now, when did XTV start? Well, XTV started probably around about 1988, I believe. Yeah. 1988. Boy, I tell you, that's a lame ass answer. But nonetheless, I'ma roll with it. Now, seeing as it started in 1988, what brought this about? I mean, I know the answer, but won't you tell the people, who may not even know nothing about HTV, a little bit about it and how it started? Well, that's simple, Justin. XTV started back in 1988, as I said, and it originally started, if I remember correct, XTV started one day when I was at my grandma's house in the living room, and my uncle Bud and my uncle I can't remember his name, but his brother, you sound like me right now, Daryl. That's his name. Oh man, I've never done that before. Anyways, they was going around the living room, and they was beating us all up. I believe they was beating me and Trina, and just for play, of course. Me and Keisha, and I don't know who else was in there, but they was wrestling, and I was so fascinated by that, and the whole family was into wrestling, even Grandma. Grandma loved Dusty Rhodes, and Dusty Rhodes, black people love Dusty Rhodes because he talked like a nigga, you know what I'm saying? Like he talked like, he legit talked like my granddaddy Bobo. He talked just like, and he say stuff like, this is how my granddaddy Bobo talk. Like, I'm gonna go up there in that truck and I'm gonna put that tugboat on him. AVW, I gotta ask you, what the hell does that mean? It don't mean nothing. I just can't think of nothing to say for Bobo. I see. Go on. But that's how Dusty Rhodes talk. He always reminded me of my granddaddy. And anyways, like I was saying, pretty much the whole Law family, they were drawn to wrestling. And when they was running around and doing that, I think I was hooked. And I don't know, I guess wrestling was on TV. And I gotta say, man, like really the thing that attached me to wrestling was just those characters, and I was just so fascinated at a young age by those different characters. Like, when I was growing up, it was in the mid to late 80s, and I seen people like Jake Roberts, Rick Rude, Randy Savage, Ultimate Warrior, and of course Hulk Hogan. And there's other big names, Jim Duggan and Hillbilly Jim, Roddy Piper, But that was like the meat of, who I watched. And I emulated that. And in those days, it was just me by myself. I was a single, how you say? I was the only child at the time. Yeah. Thought you were going to say a single father. I'm like, well, damn, boy, you're 3. Yeah, I was the only child at the time, and I didn't have anybody to play with. So I made up these characters, and I think that those characters came based off of what I saw on wrestling. I believe I was emulating that, and I don't know, man. It just came like, my earliest characters that I developed was a character named A-Man, and A-Man was supposed to be like, the idea was like I was just super cool. And I'm thinking this as a kid. I don't even know, I can't even comprehend what cool is, or, what's dope, or, what's fresh, or what's happening, what's in, what's the hop. So, anyways, that's who I am. I'm the cool kid. I'm the end guy. And everybody else, pretty much all of the characters around me, that surround me, they pretty much praise me. They think that I'm the shit. So you have to have a sort of an antithesis to that, in my mind, based on wrestling, because it's always a heel and it's always a baby face. So A-Man was the heel, and he was just this real skinny kid, black. And it's interesting to me, like, how I perceived A-Man to be, you know what I'm saying, at that young age. He was real skinny, he was pretty dirty, just like real messed up, like the kind of dirty kid from the projects. They get ringworms and talk a lot of trash, and you just don't like them, they're not likable at all. They're very antagonistic. And A-Man was always causing problems for me. And the big deal was for, all of my followers, all of my fans, the characters who thought that I was so cool, was for me to outdo A-Man in everything. And so the big draw back then was me versus A-Man. That was the main event. And, I would just have wrestling matches, and me versus A-Man would be the hot ticket. That's very interesting. I'm sure a whole lot of people find that very fascinating, people who know about XTV. Now, you mentioned names like A-Man, you mentioned Baby, I believe. Talk a little bit about those characters in the early going. Well, yeah, I guess seeing as I'm the main event guy, and A-Man is naturally the main event since he's my arch rival. So I would suggest that we have to have undercard matches, if you would. And I guess that's where Baby come in at, but I don't remember Baby being actually she didn't participate in the matches. She was just kind of like, she was a baby for real, And in those days, in the 80s, when this first started, that being XTV, it didn't have a name, of course, and Baby had a sister named Michelle, and Michelle was this fine-ass girl to me, like, she was just so fine, and she's like, and I don't know why I made her talk like that, but everything she did was like, and for some reason that's how she talked. So that was Baby's big sister, and I guess Michelle was symbolic of just the hot girl that liked the cool guy, and then of course Baby just naturally being her little sister. And fast forward a little bit, actually fast forward a lot. You look at it today, Baby, who became Yosi. We might get into that, if it's enough time. That's a whole nother story. But yeah, well, I can't wait to have Yosi on just so that we can, really break it down. I don't mean to cut you off, AVW, because years ago, or actually, several years back, there was supposed to be a DVD, and XTV went through this whole DVD era, and these stories about these different characters were supposed to come out. So I'm happy that you're shedding light on it now. Go ahead. Yeah, Baby, she was small time back then, even though something about that character to me always stood out. Her, and then it was King Kong, and you couldn't tell me that I didn't make up the name King Kong. Here I am, I'm like 3 or 4 years old. I don't know too much about the world, and King Kong has already existed, but it was not to my knowledge. I just like the play on words about King Kong. It just, in the 80s, to me, that just sounded good. It flowed. So that was a character, and I didn't even have an idea about how King Kong looked or nothing. He was just King Kong, and basically he was just he was just like me, but he just wasn't as cool. He was just like my sidekick. Like, he could do everything I could do, but he just didn't do it as good as me. That was King Kong, and he was a black guy too. You know, and he was slim. Yeah, that's what I remember about King Kong. And even but we was talking about the matches and the undercards. In those undercard matches, I remember having people like Randy Savage and Kamala, and maybe like a Rip Rogers, maybe some jobbers that that I might have remembered. They was also a part of the show. But pretty much, I mean, it was always the same matches all the time. You know what I mean? It was always just me versus A-Man. That was always the main event. You might have me and King Kong versus A-Man and Kamala or something like that. You know what I mean? But the list was so short of actual characters, nothing like it is today. That I mean, shit. I was just happy having the same old matches all the time, over and over again. And going into that world. That's pretty cool. And especially when you consider how far XTV has come. To have that insight on where it came from, it's just out of this world. Now, talk to me a little bit about the developmental phase over time. I mean, you were a wise kid. You were pretty sharp. You were pretty much in the know about a lot of stuff, although you couldn't articulate what you really wanted to say or how you felt all the time. But as years passed, how did what we now today call XTV begin to develop? Well, I tell you what. In the early going, it was all fun and everything. But after a while, after some time, man, something inside of me, I always wanted to be able to express XTV with another person, because I knew that, all of these different characters that I had, I knew that they were just play, that they were just pretend, but they were so real to me. They were so larger than life, like what I was talking about on wrestling. They were just there was something so special about it. And I always wanted to be able to sort of, I don't know, I'm struggling with the word, but I just wanted to display that. I wanted the world to be able to understand what this was. And so I wish that I had like a brother or a friend. But I remember thinking that at that young age that it would be completely impossible for me to be able to relate these characters to say maybe Keisha, who was just like, if I'm Tommy Pickle, she would be Angelica. So it's like I can't relate that to her. I need somebody that's on my level that can, that I can share this with. And long story short, my brother was born, of course, in 1989. You may know him as Tony B over on the West Coast. Go to Tony B TV. He's got a whole lot of different West Coast acts over there. I mean, you gotta love what he's doing. Oh yeah, Tony B definitely takes his time with his work, and hopefully a whole lot of those West Coast guys will be willing to be joining me for a podcast eventually soon as well. Yeah, so he was born, and I knew I could not wait for him to be able to be old enough to talk about, this is what we call XTV, and start building characters. And you know what? That's exactly what happened. Slowly but surely, I don't know what year it was, and I don't know what initially, maybe he do, I don't know. I don't know what initially it was that made us click and made us both become a part of this whole thing, but I do remember that it had to do with A-Man. It draw back to A-Man. And now that I'm thinking about it, man, it's crazy to me, like, that, because you, Justin, ladies and gentlemen, I'm speeding right now. pardon me. I'm just getting too into what AVW is talking about here. My point that I was going to make, slow down, bring it down to 60. The point that I'm making is how did those characters end up here? You know, like how did they survive all those years? You know, what about those people? And you know, some guys got weaned off. Of course, you know, Savage, Kamala, and those guys that weren't original. And I'm sure it was other people too. You know, some originals that just didn't make it to this day and age. But it's pretty crazy. You know, but going back to what I was saying about my brother, Tony B, I remember his first character being Flamingo, and he was buddies with A-Man. And at the time, they were both bad. They were both heels. And that's how things started with him. And that's what really kind of made this whole thing just explode. Yeah, well, it's definitely, you know, something like I've never heard before. And it's definitely a world where you can go into and absolutely become fully engaged and get lost in. It's not very easy for, you know, any kind of entertainer or, you know, any kind of actor to be able to pull you in with no kind of you know, costume, no nothing, just strictly your voice and your cadence and your own passion. And XTV, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes becomes so real that it builds up these real emotions. And I believe that is part of the reason why it continues to thrive even in these later years, you know, that we see today. Exactly. I mean, I remember, you know, there was Flamingo and A-Man, and then they later became Big Ten in 90. And then I remember, of course, A-Man had Miss A-Man as his mom, and then Flamingo had Miss Doe, that's what her name was. And it was just so, I don't want to say innocent, because it really wasn't. It was innocent because we were kids, but us being kids, we thought that we were being raunchy, and we didn't realize our own ignorance. You know, like, since he couldn't think of a last name, he named Flamingo's mom Miss Doe, since Doe is the end of Flamingo. And then Miss A-Man, you know, hey, that's Miss A-Man because A-Man don't have a last name. He just A-Man. Exactly. And, you know, it took a long time for Miss A-Man to even get a last name. She was Miss A-Man for years, well into 2005, and 2005 marks the year where it went from sides and went from the kiddie stuff to a little bit more edgy, a little bit more, you know, adult contemporary, if you would. Yeah, I mean, and in those prior years, man, I say from like I'll go, let's just say from 1988 all the way up through, I'll just say 2004. Those were the primitive years of XTV, you know, and it was even it was like little time capsules within that time frame, you know, within those years, because you had the early time of course you got the Ellicott era, where we lived on Ellicott, and even before then when we was on Teleferro, you know, so the XTV characters, they grew and they came along with us. Exactly. And you know, what's also pretty cool is that not only did you guys take these characters and, you know, keep on using the characters, but naturally each character develop in their own different way. Yeah, that's another thing that I like about HTV. You know, you take somebody like A-Man, who I originally was talking about, and then around about 1996, 1997, here I am, have my own little wrestling show going on, and all I really do is, nothing different from what WWF was doing or WCW. Nothing different from them. But I started to think, I should probably create my own kind of brand, my own wrestling, and so that's when I came up with SIDE. But really, SIDE was built out of a spare-of-the-moment decision when I decided one night, and you hear about this on that the story of SIDE. It's on channel THG on YouTube. But that battle royal, that over-the-top battle royal that was going on, it was just a battle royal, and a very engaging battle royal. And we know what a clusterfuck a battle royal can be, especially when you're sitting up there playing with your toys, and you can only play with 2 toys at a time, and so you got 30 toys just sitting up there, a cheesing ass Shawn Michaels, with his little fat ass hanging on the damn rope while you're playing with 2 toys. So to find that entertaining, is a testament to your own imagination. Well, thank you. And I was sitting there calling that matchup, and there was A-Man, and the clock's counting down, and we all out of toys, and we don't know who's going to be the 30th entry to this battle royal. And then his music hit, and it was just so unexpected, so that was a big shock. But then more shocking than that, as the match continued. Remember, the thing about WWF, there was never any kind of predicted endings to matches, and that's what I enjoyed back then. When I was playing with my toys, I never had no kind of no kind of projection of how things were gonna go. It was just like spur of the moment. Everything was spur of the moment, and so that's what happened with A-Man. And it came down to it, and he was one of the last dudes, one of the final members of that battle royal. And there was some top names, you might have saw a Vader or a Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels at the time. In that with a Big Bird toy, because I didn't have a figurine for A-Man. So all of these big stars got thrown over the top and beat out by Big Bird, and a whack-ass Big Bird, because he wasn't even taller than them. He couldn't even move his wings. He couldn't even move his feet. He was a stiff-ass Big Bird toy, and he might have been an extra in a Buddha Monkey show. I think he was an extra in that. Yeah, he was an extra in the Buddha Monkey show, but we stopped using him because he talked too much like Romy, or he talked too much like Abu. So it was too much. It was too hard to differentiate, the characters. So he got thrown out. That's just a very interesting thing. One of the toys that never got played with, and that's what the Buddha Monkey show was built upon. And maybe that was just that time period, if you think about it, AVW. Maybe during that time period, we're talking about the mid-90s, 1996, 1997, AVW was definitely going through puberty, as he's around maybe 12, 13 years old. And, hang on one second. Okay, 14 miles to the exit. This really passes by the time. I can see myself doing this a lot, especially when I'm on this here truck and they ain't got no auxiliary cord to listen to no podcast. Motherfucker, I'm gonna make my own. But anyways, a lot of great wrestling going on. You had 2 different brands, WCW and WWF. You didn't have cable, all right, and that was a heavy loss, because all of the good wrestling was coming on cable TV. You missed out on the cruiserweight division. You missed out on a whole lot of high impact, crazy, raw, just gritty action on WWF. They was just like really pushing the envelope in every kind of way. Wrestling in general was really pushing the envelope, and maybe that is what kind of prompted you to feel like, you know what, I'm going to go from playing with these same old toys, doing my same old thing all the time, and really start doing something different. Because that's what you did with a Buddha Monkey. Every character that was on the Buddha Monkey show was a reject toy that never got played with. You know what I mean? And AVW found use for him, and he put it in a show that absolutely worked. And that's where I made my XTV debut as Fat Boy. Starting out earlier again, very primitive years. People didn't have their names. That's who I was. I don't remember how I became Justin. I think they just named me that maybe by the third or fourth episode of a Buddha Monkey. I guess somebody wisened up and said, hey, this guy should have a name. And although I was not the main character, I became very popular. And they started giving me some of my own skits and some of my own scenes instead of a Boo. Like a Boo wouldn't even be in some of the shots, or he wouldn't be in some of the stories, and I would carry the show. So that was innovative. And then it was also innovative to go ahead and put the SIDE, the brand new found SIDE championship and the brand new found SIDE brand, and who's going to carry it? AVW, your arch nemesis, the person who is sitting right next to you, announcing all these great matches for the WWF, the program that you were doing. But no, you said, you know what, I'm going to create my own, and you know who's going to be the face? My arch rival, the guy who I've been going at for all these years, A-Man. Yeah, man, it's just crazy how it worked out. You might be right there. Because like I said, nothing was premeditated. Everything fell in place. So, that was just a change in kind of transitional time period. So, there you have it. That's what you got. And in that, we went in that transitional time period. You have my brother Tony B, who I'm not sure if he was doing the wrestling thing. He probably was. He may or may not have been. He was more so into movies. Flamingo was in a whole lot of movies. He had a character named Dead, and it was a whole lot of Dead movies. For him to be very, very dark in his approach to artwork. Absolutely. So what ends up happening is my brother had a Super Nintendo. He went from Super Nintendo to N64. I had a Sega Genesis, and I went from Sega to PlayStation. Now, we had that very young, tender age, no drugs, no drinking, no nothing like that. Nothing to mess up the pure rawness of our brain and our imagination. And so it was just straight craziness, right? And with that being said, I particularly was able to find entertainment value in being able to sit there on the WWF Royal Rumble game for Sega Genesis, and that was called WWF Superstars. You see? No, I'm sorry. It was called SIDE Superstars, because now it's SIDE. When it was with the toys, it was WWF. But now that we moved from the toys, and when A-Man became the SIDE champion, it was on the video game now. So now A-Man is the world champion. He's the head of the brand. He running the show, and he's still a heel, but he's an over heel. He ain't the so scrawny little dirty little kid no more. He muscular. He done grown up. and he really, done filled out and really became, quite something. He's the heel that you love to hate. And I was saying that Royal Rumble, the game, was our SIDE Superstars show, which was a 50-minute show. It had squash matches. It might have one main event, where you see a big-time feature guy in action. We saw a lot of King Kong versus Rick Martel type of stuff there. That was like the biggest rivalry, but the biggest show was WWF Raw, which we called SIDE Raw, the video game WWF Raw for Sega Genesis. But that all changed when we moved to the new summer season, and the new summer season was when I got a PlayStation, and I got, for the first time, Power Moves Pro Wrestling. And my brother already had a Nintendo 64, and I was just in awe by the gameplay and the 3D aspect of WCW versus NWO World Tour. And my brother didn't even have a show for that, but that wasn't his thing. That was my thing, to do the whole wrestling. I mean, I would write matches down inside of my school planners. I'm supposed to be writing down homework and future plans for school. I'm writing down wrestling matches. AVW, you probably, in hindsight, you probably should be a booker for wrestling. I mean, you got this in your blood. You might be right. I might be in the wrong profession. But yeah, I would write these matches down. I would schedule pay-per-views. I had shows in advance, and I kept the storylines in my brain. All I needed was just to be able to see on paper, these different matches, and I knew how each storyline would play out with all the different wrestlers. So I did that, and we got Power Move Pro Wrestling, and with Power Move Pro Wrestling, I guess we still kind of incorporated the WWF guys, even though this wasn't called WWF no more. WWF guys still, went head-to-head with the SIDE guys, and everybody from sides, like yourself, Justin, even Romy, who was a Boo back then, and those guys, it was only certain people, only because all of the sides wasn't humans. You see what I'm saying? But only the human sides could be considered to be a part of SIDE, and that's who was on SIDE. People who was already human. Everybody became human in 2005, which we were talking about earlier on. That whole transition. But before then, it was all scattered. You had damn foxes and monkeys and bears, stuffed animals, you name it, walking around. But they all became human. So in SIDE, there was people like Johnny Polo, Baby. A-Man had created the A-Man Nation, and that put him over even more, because now he's the head of a faction, and you got these other people, people like Baby, King Kong, the ones that I mentioned. Now they follow him. Now everybody who I came up with back in those days when I first started this, they all turned on me, and now they working with A-Man. I believe that's the whole NWO angle. That's got to be where that came from. A direct reflection of what DX was doing and what the NWO was doing. Go ahead, continue. You calling me a copycat? Well, I'm just putting together the pieces. I am a copycat, but that's okay though. I have fun doing it. And we didn't do the whole suck up or suck it or NWO for life thing. We just had a good time. With the addition of Power Move Pro Wrestling guys, those guys, they weren't really, I guess I really didn't know how to put them over, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you got, this game, Power Move Pro, had about 12 playable characters, maybe 14, because it was like 3 guys that you could unlock, but for the most part, on the regular game, was 12 playable characters. And out of all of those characters, I played with each and every one of them, and I didn't like them. I didn't really too much like the speed of the game. The speed of the game sucked, but I liked it because it was. I liked it because it kind of looked like WCW versus NWO. And when I would go in my brother's room and see him playing it or played it myself, I wished I had something like that. And I can only imagine what SIDE would have been like if it was on WCW versus NWO World Tour. But I think I might have tried doing a show on that game, and I didn't like how it came out. I actually had good shows, damn good shows, on Power Move Pro Wrestling. But out of all those 12 guys who were playable characters, I probably only picked like 4 of them, or maybe, no, it was 6. And see, I talked about that on the story of SIDE as well. Lance, Malibu Mike Swanson, L. Tim Bloor, Gorgon, referee Sally, and I can't remember who the 6th guy was, but only half of the roster got chosen to be a part of the main roster for SIDE. Everybody got thrown to the side. Everybody else got thrown to the side. They were not important. Well, I mean, that's not a huge addition to the roster anyway. 12 guys, and you already got a roster. You got the WCW guys, you got the WWE guys, you got the SIDE guys. 12 people added to the roster. Really not too much of a big deal. Yeah, and of those 6 who did make it, I mean, how many of those guys do you remember the date, I mean, how many of those guys are, heavy hitters, big top players? I can't think of any. Well, moving right along here, let's talk a little bit more about SIDE, let's talk a little bit more about XTV nowadays. And, on the whole scale, I just want to know AVW, because, we don't talk to you, and, you and Tony B both absolute, definitely going to be in the Hall of Fame whenever we get around to, having the ceremony. But you guys have already been inducted, along with several others who are long overdue. But today, in XTV, how do you see things going, and what do you think about the whole state of XTV, considering that XTV always had that foundation of wrestling? We always had a platform whereby people can get their shit off, because back when, and look at this motherfucker, don't want to let me over. Bitch! Thank you. Yeah. See, back when SIDE first ended, you had XTV take over, and inadvertently and unknowingly, this wasn't a conscious thing that was like, okay, SIDE over, now let's just make everybody from sides do wrestling. No, we just started doing things like sides again, sides midday, I think we had survival sides or something like that. Again, young, undeveloped brains, undeveloped minds, not clever enough to come up with original names. We just tag sides on everything, just like we did with Flamingo, and just like that with his mom. Well, yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. It was always there. It was that transition, and then I guess it was probably in about 2013 where we just lost it. I guess we lost the game. The PlayStation screwed up on it. So we've been going probably about 2.5, 3 years, maybe even longer, with just no system, no kind of platform for, you know, stars to rise up and people get their shit off. And really, it's just become, you know, even though XTV is always fun, it's a good time. That's right, you know, it's always fun no matter what. But damn it, we miss that X factor, man. I mean, we miss being able to match people up against each other. My guy versus your guy. You know, who's the best of the best? Because these characters, you know, I mean, nowadays are so strong that, you know, I mean, they just such strong characters that it's always interesting, and we have recreated what I fell in love with, you know, 30 years ago or however long it been. You know, here in XTV, we've recreated those larger-than-life type characters and those great stories and that great excitement that goes along with watching professional wrestling, something like WWE. Absolutely. Do you see anybody? Because I mean, it's very, very rare that new stars come in, you know, to XTV. I'm talking about just the old, like somebody like myself, not to toot my own horn, but the point that I'm making is, you know, when something organic, like what you did with the Buddha Monkey Show, or like what you did with A-Man, you know, somebody that comes in and just becomes just that guy. And you know, I can't remember the last time I seen that, and I'm wondering, you know, do you think that's on the horizon? AVW, what I'm really asking is, will it ever be another Bob Classic? Well, a Bob Classic, you know, Bob, you know, see, the thing with Bob, man, you know his story. I mean, he just like you, a toy that was never played with, and then, you know, he ends up being one of the top guys, but obviously that takes time to develop, you know what I mean? So will it ever be another, or will it be something like, or something better? That remains to be seen. I always think that it can happen. I always think that it can happen because that's just the unpredictability of XTV. But as of right now, with no platform, all I think that we can do right now is just, you know, make the guys that we have stronger and make use of, you know, people who probably don't get used too much. You know, that's my take on that. Well, yeah, you know, one of the guys who I was thinking about as you were saying that was Tails, you know, aka Tyrone. You know, that's the thing though. You know, Tails, who was with Yaki, you know, from Yaki Heroes or whatever, Sonic the Hedgehog. You know, he's made a return, and you know what? He's actually somewhat over. You know, I mean, you don't see him all the time, but you know, you can tell when somebody ain't over because they just like you can just feel them stagnating, or you can just feel like their content is just not. It's just very tiring. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, AVW, we're gonna have to continue this conversation because I mean we done ran out of time. But I want you to come back because we're gonna have a part 2 of this this podcast, Ernest Justin Turkey Leg with AVW. I'm finna ride into the sunset. Folks, I hate to interrupt you again, but you know, I gotta take this time out to tell you about Big. You ever wonder why in the hell you can't always find either a pen or a lighter? Don't they have something in common? They both made by Big. Not only do they specialize in top-of-the-line lighters and fluids and pens, but they also specialize in being lost. Cause I can't never find my shit. Have you seen my Big? You know, it reminds me of this one time. And I forgot what happened. Maybe I remember another time. Got a bit? Thank you for tuning in today. Ernest Justin Turkey Leg here with with what should have been my second podcast, but turned out it's not. Did my first episode last Friday, I believe, and over the weekend I had two wonderful guests, that being the Pain, representing the East Coast, or excuse me, the West Coast, and that 80s guy, and a very tell-all interview. I was very proud to conduct that with both of those gentlemen. Learned a whole lot of things that we did not know about the West Side, and hopefully we can expound on some of those things today and in the future. But right now, my guest is one who I'm bringing back. You can call him the first ever side, even though he's not a side. Ladies and gentlemen, AVW, here we are again in the truck. We don't got that much longer before we stop at our next destination. And I believe we're hitting the pit boys. But here we are on the truck. It's Monday morning, 10:55 a.m. We're set to arrive at 11:20 a.m. So just keep that in mind. But we got a short date. We should be home real soon. And AVW, I want to kind of pick up where we left off. We was talking about, the state of XTV nowadays, and I was asking about your thoughts. I was talking about Tyree, aka Tails. I believe I was talking about that, and how he kind of just sort of made his way back into the realm of XTV, and I was starting to say that he, being that he's a kind of a fresh face that has come back after a long hiatus, people were starting to kind of take to him, laugh at his jokes and things like that. And so he really ain't like a heel, he's kind of more on the babyface side. Would you agree? Yeah, I definitely agree with that. But it's still kind of, it's with Tails though, it's just too early to tell. You just never know how things gonna play out. And right now where we at in this moment in time and space in XTV, it's a free fall. It's anybody's ball game, and until we get the game back, it's just that, man. It's just gonna be that kind of free fall. You can't really say who's up, who's in, who's out. You just gotta go with the flow, man. Yeah, I guess I can sort of agree, but I was only going based off of. He only been around for maybe a week or so. He just showed back up, so it's neither here nor there. It was just something random that popped up, and I apologize for the abrupt ending of our last show. This is absolutely part 2 of that. And AVW, I want to start out also by talking about some of the things that happened in SIDE. We didn't get to talk about that too much, and I just want to touch on some things during the SIDE era, that time period in which you created, because I was talking to the 80s guy, and he and Payne, both was talking about how the WWE existed without XTV knowing about it. I found that very fascinating, that it had become such a well-kept secret, that being the WWF, and the way it was just like almost a completely different world. So during that time period, we're talking about 1996, 97, 98, around that time, that was going on. Talk a little bit about SIDE and what was going on in those times. Well, SIDE, man, I tell you, it went on to kind of proceed and take off where WWF left off. You see what I'm saying? When A-Man won the SIDE championship, he was the man, he was the face, And, I don't know, man. SIDE kind of went through its different stages, I guess. Like I said, it picked up where WWF left off. The same characters, kind of. It was kind of a bit of a cluster, but somehow, some way, we were still able to create, real good storylines. And I don't know, I think that the guys was used well during those time periods. A-Man stayed at the top for a long period, but he ended up getting injured. And due to his injury, I think that was probably like in 1998. Since he got injured, he had to get taken off. So what was next for me was, I figured that I needed a new star. Even though we had people like White Fang, Man of Many People, guys like that. Those the guys who was headlining. It was like A-Man versus Man of Many People, A-Man versus Sus, A-Man versus White Fang, different things like that. So when he ended up getting hurt, that's when I decided to, move somebody else up. And I think around that time, either 98 or 99, once it started to get towards the later days of SIDE, you could say, I think we started to put some shine on Lance Dulac, who was from that Power Moves Pro Wrestling era, that we talked about it in the last show. And, Lance Dulac, he was so decorated, such a great star, had such a great look. Even in the PPW days, it wasn't until, we took a hold of him. He started off as a babyface, and just some kind of, to me, he wasn't much different from Malibu Mike, who was the California dude, ladies love him and stuff like that, chick mag. That's kind of what Lance was, except for in a different kind of, more laid back, schoolboy kind of shy, or I wouldn't say shy, but reserved kind of style, and he just came out there with the little short blue and white shorts and boots, and he was just real plain. And I decided to take him because he was, I liked his style, I liked his technique and his athleticism, and I wanted to, try to use him and see what I could do with him, because I found, that it was interesting, with A-Man out of the picture, it would be interesting to build a star out of, one of those Power Move Pro Wrestling guys, kind of like what we did with a Buddha Monkey, just, one of the lesser used toys, if you will. Yeah, but, if I could be honest, all y'all did was just take him and give him the old Triple H gimmick. But it worked. It absolutely worked. And he went on to become SIDE champion, and he was a big draw. Yeah, sure he was. He was a huge draw. He went up against Man of Many People. He had great feuds, but the thing with Lance though, what stands out about him to me was the fact that he didn't have, it wasn't his opponents per se, really, and not to take nothing away from nobody, but he really just stood on his own. He had his own presence, and things kind of revolved around him. And it's just funny how, it didn't necessarily work out. It didn't necessarily pan out that way when he came over to XTV. Well, that's one thing that we can talk about. We can talk about the transition from SIDE to XTV, because there was an obvious transition from WWF to SIDE, but like you said, it was a bit of a cluster muck, having all the WCW guys, the SIDE guys, the WWF guys, and a few little Power Move Pro Wrestling guys. That's just too many heads to know what to do with. But once we get around the year 2000, SIDE ends, and out of nowhere, organically, Sides kind of takes over where SIDE left off, inadvertently. Seeing as, over here at Sides, we were was just, I don't even know. We just needed a window of opportunity. You know, I think that unconsciously or subconsciously, XTV does not realize, or maybe did not realize in those times, how much we depended on wrestling, or how much XTV itself thrived on wrestling. And with that being said, that's how we came up with Seismic Day, Sides Again, you know, you name it. And you know, I was talking to the Pain, and he talked about how the big drawback then was Tails, Abu himself, and you know, those were kind of the bigger guys in that time frame. Yeah, that's how it was, man. And SIDE was always, you know, pretty, I mean, not SIDE, but XTV was always, you know, pretty rough. And pretty cutthroat, if you would, man. I mean, to make it to the top, you just had to have something, you know, to be the top guy, you just had to have some kind of thing that stands out about you. You know, and during those times, you know, there was a guy, Alex Trevelyan. He was the main guy, he was the main focus, especially for the East Coast. You know, he was such a through the roof character, and you know, you gotta give credit to Steve Austin. If Steve Austin wasn't as big as he was in the WWF, there's no way that Alex could have had any kind of material to work for. But being as, you know, that was the time period it was, Alec is what worked, you know, and you talk about 2000s, that's when you get into the SIDE Mania, the first ever Size of Mania. And I think Alec had made a return there. Yeah, that's what happened. Because Alec, he wasn't a big part of that card. He was just the return. And it was a fatal four-way main event. And yeah, man, I mean, that was just the hype, you know, during that time. Certainly a long time ago, hard to even remember things that happened then. But one of the things that I remember is Alec making his return there during our backstage segment, during a backstage interview segment, and he just kind of walks past Bob Classic, who had just hurt his foot on a bicycle handle. He just walked by and says, "Damn, boy," and man, that crowd lit up. Oh yeah, I remember those times, man. I mean, Alec would just make those returns, you know, at this pay-per-view or that pay-per-view, and his puff was just so huge. And I think that, you know, I was listening to your podcast when he was talking to 80s guys. Of course you was. Yeah, and I remember him talking about Alec's promos, and I didn't really think about it until he had said that, but I think that was one of the biggest things that Alec used to do back then. He used to cut promos on people, and then he'll whoop their ass. You know, he beat everybody's ass. I think he even got in a fight with Sable one time, but that wasn't too successful. And he tried to do the one leg hit, I think, on Sable. Sable was not having no part of it. Sable wouldn't sell for shit. Ginger was a great seller, you know, and they had the 006 with the dogs thing, and you know, it was always much easier to interact with Ginger than it was with Sable. Well, Sable was a wolf child, so you know, he had that wolf in him. He had that mean streak. So you know how that goes. Ladies and gentlemen, I almost missed my exit. That would have been so bad. I just happened to look down. But we on point. We rocking. I'm sitting here with AVW. And he's talking to us about the days of SIDE. And we're talking about Sable and Ginger. Tell us a little bit about 006 with the dogs and how that came about. And, you know, I mean, what you thought of that? Well, 006 with the dogs, I think that was like, that was another innovative kind of show. Seeing as, you know, here on the East Coast, we didn't have anybody that just went out there and did something like that. You know, I would just go out there as Alec and, you know, kind of play around in the backyard. I think I seen, I don't remember who that was. I think on the East Coast, I mean on the West Coast, they had the Sable and Ginger show. And that might have gave me the idea, 006 for the Dogs. I thought that was real creative to have Sable and Ginger in the show, you know, to implement those two, you know, because we got the size and shit. You know, we had SIDE, you know, but that was just thinking outside the box, completely different. You know, and that's one thing about the West Coast. You know, they always did have something that was just like a complete alternative to the East Coast. I don't think that the West Side is given enough credit considering shows like Spot the Doggy. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, you know, I think that Spot the Doggy was the antithesis to a Buddha Monkey. Well, I don't know. It may or may not have been, but still, though, I mean, Super Cage, then Super Cage and Bad Guy, then there was Dude and Dude. Oh yeah. So you know, I mean, they was always innovative in their approach to shows and things like that. So I probably got the idea for 006 with the Dogs from the Sable and Ginger show, just to include them. But it was not only that, but it was kind of like the second season of seeing Alec and his family. It was just called 006 with the Dogs because originally they came in on the X-Men 2 Clone Wars game. That's when Alec and the whole family was introduced. But Alec first came in because he was a West Coast guy, and he came in probably in 1997 during the 007 GoldenEye time period. Huge show, and I'm gonna have Alec and Sally on in the future. Both of those two will talk about, you know, 006 with the Dogs and all those different shows, and huge points in XTV history. I'm talking about a timepiece, and I look forward to talking to those two. But going into 006 with the Dogs, I noticed that, you know, even though you say you got it from Sable and Ginger, at the same time, you know, Sable and Ginger were very rarely used. Yeah, they was rarely used. And you know what's fucked up about it? Is that the idea behind it was Ginger was supposed to be evil, and I think Sable was the good dog, you know, and the premise behind that was because, I guess it was because Sable was my dog and Ginger was my brother's dog. Or maybe I just like Sable better, I don't know. But yeah, Ginger was supposed to be the evil dog, and she didn't play that role very well. The roles should have been switched. Exactly. But so that's why I had to go ahead and, you know, it's like those two, they acted suck, for one. So that was the point in having Beast and Nightcrawler, and they were like supposed to be like, you know, Ginger's minions. You know how you know, I used to watch a lot of Power Rangers back then. So if Ginger was Rita Repulsa, then that means that Beast and Nightcrawler was kind of like Goldar and whoever else, you know, was with her. So that was pretty much it. But I mean, it was just a whole bunch of stupid stuff. Really, you know, everything that 006 with the Dogs was based around was absolutely nothing serious. Just a bunch of silly shit. Alec putting himself in situations where he bound to get fucked up, you know, blown up, fall off a roof or something like that. You know, it was comical. You know, he was the perfect person for that because even though he was known for beating people up and, you know, cutting promos, everything about Alec was very comical. You know, it was stupid. I would compare him to like a Will Ferrell or something like that. Except when nobody take Will Ferrell serious at all. But that's pretty cool. And then of course Alec did Duke Nukem and things like that. But AVW, you are the mind behind most of this stuff. I mean, you know, pretty much everything on the East Coast, man. I mean, the mind behind even XTV as a whole. You brought this into existence. You wished for a younger brother who you could do this with, or just a friend that you could do this with. You got that. It blew up. You merged the two. You wasn't calling it East Coast and West Coast back then. Then it was Flamindo, and then that later grew to Flamindo, Donkey Kong, and Didi, and maybe a few others. Spot the Doggy, Biggest World Dog, Woody. And all of that just kind of culminated into what we have today. I mean, so much to go over, so much to go through, but I'm afraid that, yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have damn near run out of time. And before we wrap this up, AVW, I just want to ask you, what is your favorite matchup of all time here in XTV? Man, my favorite match, or it could be from XTV, SRDE, or anything. What was your favorite match, or maybe your favorite event, or favorite thing that that you most proud of from XTV? East Coast, West Coast, favorite match, or anything. What's your favorite thing? Man, that's tough. I gotta think about that. My favorite thing. And that's such an ignorant question, but you ignorant. Everybody knows that. No big secret. Take your time with it, Thinking about all the different things that we had, XTV Manias, Survival of the Fittest, and Spring Break, different movies, different times, different good times. There's so much shit to choose from, man. I mean, those times back in 1997, man, I mean, that shit is fucking priceless. Those moments that we used to have, during 006 with the Dogs, those times that we used to have playing the game, shit, like nothing compares to that. And then those times in the room on the game, doing 06 and shit. If I had to pick a favorite match, it's so many of them. I really can't. Nothing really stand out as far as matches. So I have to say, you know what I have to say, man? You know what I gotta say is my favorite shit that XTV does, me, AVW, my favorite, and it's always hard for me to choose a favorite in anything. But if a gun was put to my head and I had to choose my absolute favorite thing about XTV, I would choose XTV Mania. Wow. And that's for the simple fact that XTV Mania, whether we realize it, whether we talk about it or not, hold on, before you say that, I want to point out, ladies and gentlemen, that I just not passed by a billboard with a pregnant lady with a hand on her stomach, and my perverted ass thought that it was somebody grabbing the lady on her ass. I thought she had a fat ass, and it caught my attention. Well, thank you for cutting me off to say that while we only got like 2 minutes before we got to get off of here. But my favorite thing is XTV Mania, and the reason why is because I just have to say that after all of these years of doing XTV Mania, it represent everything that we've ever done. Anything can happen at XTV Mania, and that's just it. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, they cutting us off. We have just not pulled up to Protect RV. These podcasts go by so fast. But ladies and gentlemen, I am Ernest Justin Turkey Leg. I was sitting up here with AVW. It has been a pleasure, my friend, and I hope to talk to you soon in the future. Yeah, hopefully we can get a long, one of the big, long 2-minute Perry drives, 2-hour Perry drives, and it won't be so bad. All right, until next time, I'll see y'all.